So Wilbur Ross is the Secretary of Commerce under the Trump administration, and he's also allegedly a thief. Now, this is according to a bombshell report from Dan Alexander of Forbes. Now, Forbes, wait a minute here. Forbes is attacking a billionaire? Oh, fascinating. There must be a reason. Well, first, let me go into what they said about Ross. Now, apparently, he is known as somebody who would stuff his pockets full of sweet and low. Why? Because he's too cheap to buy his own. I mean, he's a billionaire, which makes no sense as why he would steal creamer or sugar, right? But while he was doing that, apparently he was allegedly stuffing his pockets full of other people's money. Now, the report said that Forbes spoke with 21 people who know Ross and found claims that he wrongly took millions of dollars for himself on multiple occasions. Now, the publication estimated that if all allegations were true, then Ross would have built associates out of more than $120 million, and I'm going to go through some examples of those allegations. Now, Alexander writes, quote, if even half of the accusations are legitimate, the current United States Secretary of Commerce could rank among the biggest grifters in American history. So Alexander is not pulling punches. And again, he is a writer for Forbes. This is not a liberal rag, right? Forbes is a conservative publication. They talk about billionaires and how great they are all the time. They have the billionaires list, which turns out factors into the story. But first, now you remember when Donald Trump said he was going to surround himself with the best people? Oh, no, the best people. I know the best people. I'm going to surround myself with the best people. How's that working out? So many people have either resigned from massive corruption or are still doing massive corruption and have not resigned yet from the Trump administration. He has had a record turnover. Look, you can just go down the line. Scott Pruitt is one of them. Former HHS secretary, whose name escapes me at the moment. He also stepped down. I think you had the guy before Alex Azar, or Alex Azar himself. There's been so many, it's very, very difficult to keep track of how many people have resigned from this administration due to corruption. And now here, of course, you have Wilbur Ross also doing corruption, but against fellow rich people. So let me give you the details on that. In 2005, a former vice chairman of a firm, W.L. Ross, filed a $20 million lawsuit against Ross, alleging that he tried to cut him out of a share. They had reached a confidential settlement, which reportedly cost about $10 million. In 2014 to 2015, Invesco, the parent company of W.L. Ross, reported $43 million in regulatory and reimbursement expenses, which 4 employees say were tied to issues that occurred under Ross. In July of 2015, Ross's former number 2 filed a $4 million lawsuit, alleging that Ross stole his interests. They recently reached a confidential settlement. August of 2016, W.L. Ross agreed to pay the SEC $2.3 million after allegations that the firm defrauded and misled investors. People who were wealthy. The company settled without admitting wrongdoing. In August of 2016, when the SEC announced its fine, it also revealed that the W.L. Ross had paid back $11.9 million it was accused of taking from investors, including interest when Ross was running the firm. In December 2016, a former W.L. Ross employee also sued the company, alleging that Ross had, quote, looted his accounts to the tune of $3.6 million. And finally, in November 2017, 3 former W.L. Ross executives sued Ross and their former firm, accusing them of charging $48 million in improper fees. Ross says the legal action is, quote, without merit. Take all those together, and they add up to about $120 million that he had basically stolen from employees, co-workers, and investors. Now, funny enough, a Commerce Department spokesperson refuted the Forbes report by saying this. You'll love this. Quote, the anonymously sourced Forbes story is based on false rumors, innuendo, and unverifiable claims. The fact remains that no regulator has made any of these accusations against the secretary. This rehash of old stories is clearly the result of a personal vendetta. Gee, I wonder why there would be a personal vendetta against Wilbur Ross. Could be the fact that he probably, allegedly stole all this money from people. I mean, that would make a perfect motive. But then, of course, he would have to have actually stolen the money. So it would give the story a little bit of more verification. Interestingly enough. Okay. Not only that, but he says the baseless claims made in the story were well publicized long ago and are not news. They've already been reported, so why are you reporting this again? I mean, seriously. They've already been reported before. Let's just ignore this. Why bring it up? Why bring it up? Now, earlier in the day, a statement from Ross himself said the SEC had never initiated any enforcement action against me. But wait a minute. That's not true. The SEC fined his firm $2.3 million in 2016. That would happen to be enforcement action. Yeah, but I don't think it's enforcement action. They just, I don't know. I just gave him $2.3 million because they said that might have done something wrong. So I just didn't fight it. I just gave him the money. Right. Okay. Now, the interesting part about this story is not the fact, or the allegation, I should say, that Ross is a grifter. We had our suspicion that Trump, had hired sleazy people because that's who he surrounds himself with. Paul Manafort, one of them. Rick Gates, another sleazy person. Michael Cohen, incredibly sleazy. On and on. You could go down the list. WIlbur Ross, just another sleazy person. So, former head of the EPA, Scott Pruitt, incredibly sleazy. And, of course, wasted taxpayer money. But, okay, aside from that, what's interesting is the reason Forbes is going so hard after WIlbur Ross. As I mentioned before, there's nothing liberal or progressive about Forbes, right? Well, I mean, look, it's not like they want to take down the president and his economic team, right? No, they actually love what Trump is doing economically for the stock market. No, it turns out there's a more interesting reason. Alexander's interest in Ross, who's a writer, Dan Alexander, had stemmed from the Commerce Secretary's apparent attempt to mislead Forbes, which the magazine says were an attempt to get himself higher on the publication's ranking of billionaires. So here, WIlbur Ross was allegedly saying, "Oh no, I'm actually richer than I thought. That's why I should get a higher spot in the Forbes billionaires list." So all this is about ego, and he apparently lied to Forbes, which got this reporter, who actually did an excellent report on this alleged corruption, right? And how he is an alleged grifter. That got him so fired up. The fact that Ross tried to mislead them to get higher in the billionaires list. That's what led to this. That is fascinating. How dare you mislead our wonderful publication in order to boost your ego? Lie about how rich you are. Just to get a bigger spot. No, we're going to come after you like a ton of bricks. Here's your corruption. I mean, it shows that Forbes can do excellent journalism if they actually care to do so. And this was an excellent piece. But, hey, regardless of their reasons, we do have, a right to know how much of an alleged sleazebag our officials are. And I guess to give him credit, to give Forbes credit, they made sure to let everybody know. So now what will happen to WIlbur Ross? Hopefully, and it wouldn't be surprising to me to see another possible resignation, but we'll see how much pressure and how much impact this really has. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.